Hello students, welcome to again a computer science session. So in this session we are going to learn about a constructor concept. Basically how this constructor concept is different than the other functions or a concept. I mean in the function overloading and the function as an argument concept what we have made, function as an argument concept define an argument with its body. Alright. In the function overloading what we have made, n number of functions are defined with the arguments, but name of the functions are same. Here, constructor is the one special member function. This particular constructor, in its body, it doesn't allow or does not allow to read or to print the any value or to write any logic. So then what it exactly helps to the programmer to do mean, constructor is only to help the user to initialize an object of the class. Constructor only helps to initialize, not for reading, not for logic, not for printing. And this very important concept in the programming where user can directly initialize the value, and this constructor can be defined in a different manner. One is with the default constructor method, another one is with the parameter constructor, and the third one is with the copy constructor. We'll see the definition and its characteristics. This question is very important for 5 weeks. And they may ask a definition of constructor for 1 marks also. We'll see the definition first. Constructor, it is used to initialize an object of the class. Object means data member, the data member of the class. This is first point. Second point, constructor name, constructor function name and class name supposed to be same always, And the third point, constructor will be called automatically when the object has been created. Why it will be called automatically? Because constructor name and the class name both are same. How you are going to create the reference object? With the help of class name only, right? So for that reason, when you call the class name, immediately compiler will create or calls entire constructor body. The next point, it should be declared inside the public, and which can be called either inside the class block, or outside the class block. This will be called inside as well as outside the class block. And the fourth point, this constructor function, it does not refer with the address of the constructor. Fine. First one is used to initialize the object of the class. Second, the name of the constructor and the class name supposed to be same. Third, it will be called automatically when the objects are created, and it should be declared inside the public access specifier so that we can define its body inside the class as well as outside the class block. And the next point, it does not refer with the address of the constructor. And the next point, the fourth point, what is that? The next another point. The another point, it does not support. It does not support. Very important point. Return type, not even a void. Not even a void. Next, it uses new and delete. It uses new and delete operator for allocating and deallocating the memory. Which memory? Constructor memory. Constructor memory. These are the very important points we are going to define inside the constructor, because the constructor only helps to initialize, not for reading, not for printing. We'll see the syntax of the constructor. See the syntax of the constructor. This is very important characteristics. Please remember, this question will be asked for 5 marks. Write a characteristics or features of the constructor main. You are supposed to write all the points what I have written on the board. Now we'll see the syntax. Syntax, how we are going to define constructor. First, class name. Open the flower bracket. Inside the public, I will call constructor name. What I have told, that should be declared inside the public. Right, I have defined the public. Now, constructor name and the class name supposed to be same. So, how I have written, in the same manner I supposed to write, that is class name. And open the flower bracket. Here I will write the body of the constructor. Body of the constructor. Semicolon, close the class. So this is the constructor syntax. First, it's supposed to be declared inside the public, and the function name and the class name supposed to be same. Right, I have defined. Okay. Now, those characteristics, how we are going to implement in the program, we'll see one small program. We'll see the small program. First, as usual, we suppose start with the class name. We'll write class CS. Open the flower bracket. I will take public. Here I will take CS, open the flower bracket. Sorry, I have to declare the variable. I am going to declare here int a comma b. So then I will initialize the value a equals 10, b equals 20. Close the constructor. Then I will declare one normal member function, that name called void display. Open the flower bracket. Here I will write cout result a plus b. Close this, close the class. Now we'll see first part what I have told. Constructor is used to initialize an object of the class. There itself I have mentioned object means data member of the class. A, B are the two data member what I have defined here, right? Then inside the constructor body what I have made? Initialization. Remember Kuzgole, constructor is only for initialization. Inside this particular body, you cannot do cout operation. You cannot call the cout keyword. You cannot call reading also. You cannot call logical task. That means any formula you are not supposed to call, because constructor is only for initialization, not for anything. if you want to print, if you want to read, if you want to write any formula, then you are supposed to write inside the another member function. Constructor is only to explicit call. Constructor always expect some external value supposed to be initialized through the variable or through the argument or through the parameter. Or another way, constructor supposed to be initialized directly. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಬೇರೆಯವರು ಬಂದು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಕೊಡಲಿ or else directly initialize ಮಾಡಲಿ ಅಂತ ಅದರ ಅರ್ಥ. Okay, first point we have met. Second point, the name of the constructor and the class name supposed to be same. Check here, CS is the function name, class name also CS, so second point we have matched. Third point, it should be declared inside the public. Yes, we have defined, and it can be defined within the class as well as outside the class. If you call this particular body, how we are going to call? In this manner. This is how we have called them. When you call the same body outside the class, then we supposed to write in this manner. Okay, either here or here, no problem. The next point, constructor does not support for void, not even a return type. See here, I have taken void with the normal member function, but here I have not mentioned anything. Why? Because constructor itself does not support for void, not even any return type. Return type means which are those? Integer, float, double. These things you cannot write here because compiler itself does not accept. Next, then after initializing, I have taken a member function to display the result of A and B. The next point, to execute this particular body, as always, we need to create the reference object. And how we are creating the reference object? Inside the main block. Void main. How you are creating? As usual, class name, object name. What the second point? Constructor will be called automatically when the object creates. When you write this particular line, this entire body will be called inside the stack. Entire body will be called here. When it creates the object, this complete constructor body will be called immediately into the stack memory to store the constructor value. Next, bh dot, the normal function name is display. Get ch, close this. The entire body will be called A value is 10, B value is 20. This is inside the stack. We cannot see that. And when we are able to see the result 30, then that memory will be called as heap memory, because always heap memory will hold resulting value or processed value. Constructor will be called when the object creates. ಈ ತರ ನೀವು ಬರೆದಾಗ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ ಬಾಡಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ. ಒನ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ಡ್, ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಇನಿಷಿಯಲೈಸ್ಡ್, same value will be stored over there. Okay, then the result will be displayed on the screen. And this constructor, this is the default constructor. Actually there are three different way or different types of constructor. The first one is default constructor. Second one is, I'll remove this program, so I'll write clearly. There are types of constructor. Types of constructor. First one is default constructor. Second one is parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. This parameterized constructor will be defined in three different methods. One is with the implicit. Another one is explicit method. Third one is initialization at the time of declaration. Initialization at the time of declaration. And third one is copy constructor. Copy constructor. These are the three different types of constructor. One is default constructor, second one is parameterized constructor. Inside the parameterized, there are three ways to represent the parameterized. One is implicit way, another one is explicit way, third one is initialization at the time of declaration, and the third one is copy constructor. While explaining the constructor concept itself, I have written one program, and that program indicates default only. How I will tell now. First one will explain about default. First one is default constructor. The first one is default constructor. This default constructor is also called as zero argument constructor. Zero argument constructor. What is the another name of default constructor? If anybody asks, tell this default constructor is also called as zero argument constructor. Why we call it a zero argument constructor? Because why we call it zero argument constructor means it does not accept any argument or arguments. Default constructor is called as zero argument constructor, does not accept any arguments. And the remaining points are same as it is. One more time you are supposed to write. This will be called automatically. This will be called automatically when the object is being created. Third point, it should be declared inside the public, and it can be defined either inside the class as well as outside the class. Even this default constructor also does not support for the return type, not even a void, and even this one will not be accessed or executed with the reference objects of this address of this constructor, and it supports new and delete operator to allocate and the deallocate the memory space. Okay, now we'll see the syntax of this. The same syntax what you have written, for the constructor that represent default. What is that? Class name, public, class name, parenthesis, its body, semicolon, close the class. You may understood now, hope so. Why we call this a zero argument? Because here it does not accept any argument. It's a null, right? Or empty, you can say that. Empty. When you are calling the constructor, when it does not accept any argument or any value, that process is to be zero argument constructor. Please write the same program what I have given for the constructor example, or still in a simple manner. If you want me to write the one default constructor example means, we'll see that one too. I will take programming example class CS, open the bracket, public, before that I will declare variable called as A, CS, A equals to 10, close this, void, display, cout, A, close this, close the class, same main block I will write, void, main, open the flower bracket, CS, BH, so BH dot display. get ch display. See, default constructor is also called as zero argument. Kuzgode nodre. Here I am not defined anything. If you called a value, if you called any argument in this manner, this will be called as parameterized. You are not supposed to initialize anything. Why? Because you are representing default constructor. Default constructor does not accept any argument. Please go through with this session. In this particular session, I have explained the constructor definition and its characteristics. Default constructor definition and its characteristic. You may ask, what is meant by default constructor? It is also called as zero argument constructor, and even default constructor is also used to initialize an object of the class. And remaining characteristics are same as it is constructor characteristics. And syntax also same with the constructor one only, right? And the example, this programming. They may ask, explain a constructor and its characteristics for 5 marks. Even they may ask, explain default constructor with the syntax and the programming example, also 5 marks. Same program you can write for both constructor as well as default constructor. Very, very important. Please go through with this session and try to execute the program. Thank you.